The cost of the badge. It was supposed to be a routine stop, just another night on patrol in the damp streets of Seattle. But for Officer Melissa Harlan, it would become the night. Everything changed the night that exposed her not only to the city, but to herself. The sky was a dull canvas of slate gray, heavy with rain that sliced sideways across the windshield of her cruiser. Officer Harlan leaned back in her seat, fingers drumming rhythmically on the steering wheel. 2 decades on the force had sharpened her instincts, hardened her patience, and blunted her empathy. She told herself that's what it took to survive. When she spotted the Tesla sleek, black, too pristine to belong in this part of the marina, her radar went off. It wasn't the make or the model. It was the vibe. It moved with confidence, not arrogance, but a presence. And presence in this district after midnight meant something was off. No signal on a turn? That was all the excuse she needed. She flipped on her cruiser's lights. Red and blue illuminated the mist as she pulled in behind the Tesla, which coasted to a smooth stop beneath a flickering street lamp. Harlan exited her car, boots hitting a shallow puddle with a muted splash. Her hand hovered near her holster. She didn't need to feel threatened to prepare. It was habit by now. The window of the Tesla glided down without a sound. The driver, black, mid-40s, composed, sat motionless, hands on the wheel. He wore a tailored coat, a silk scarf, and was that cufflinks? She didn't like the calm in his eyes, the control in his expression. Most people fumbled. They looked nervous. He looked used to being in charge. License and registration, she snapped. He blinked once, then replied with a voice like velvet and steel. May I ask why I'm being stopped, officer? She bristled. Not defiance, not submission, just calm. That always bothered her more than aggression. Failed to signal, she barked. I see, he replied smoothly. I wasn't aware. He made no sudden movements. Everything about him was slow, deliberate, almost rehearsed. He handed her his documents. Desmond Hale. The name didn't register. Nothing about him did. He wasn't from around here, and he didn't pretend to be. Step out of the vehicle. He tilted his head. Is that necessary? Her jaw tightened. Step out. He obeyed, silent and fluid. He was taller than she expected, broader too. Harlan pointed at the rear of the car. Hand on the trunk. The rain picked up. He walked to the back, placed his palms on the cold metal, and waited. What happened next wasn't planned. It wasn't protocol. It was impulse, old habits, buried resentment. She swung. Her fist collided with his jaw in a wet crunch. He staggered but didn't fall. Blood welled at the corner of his mouth. You'll regret that, officer, he said softly. Not a threat. A fact. Harlan froze. Threw his ID back through the open window of the car. Get in your vehicle, she muttered. Desmond Hale drove off into the night, taillights disappearing into the mist. Harlan stood alone, pulse pounding. Told herself she'd taught him a lesson. But something gnawed at her chest. She didn't know it yet, but she hadn't just punched a man. She had assaulted the new chief of police. The next morning, the precinct was abuzz with chatter and clinking coffee mugs. Melissa Harlan moved through it like a ghost. She wore her usual scowl, her usual armor of quiet superiority. But that armor cracked the moment the dispatcher's voice rang out over the radio. Harlan, Chief's office. Now, Chief. Harlan blinked. There hadn't been one since Hendricks retired last month. Temporary leadership was a formality. Paper pushers. She walked the hall slowly, past the commendations, past the locker room where rookies laughed about petty arrests. She didn't knock. She never knocked. She opened the door and froze. Desmond Hale sat behind the desk. The bruise she'd left on his jaw was just beginning to blossom purple beneath his skin. He didn't stand, didn't smile, didn't even greet her. Chief Hale, I didn't know. Save it, he said. Calm, cold, desk duty, until further notice. No lecture, no explanation. He returned to the paperwork on his desk, like she'd already been dismissed. She stumbled back into the bullpen, where the whispers started before she even reached her chair. You hit the chief, Torres whispered. Her rookie partner. Pale, wide-eyed. She tried to laugh it off. He'll get over it. But the laughter tasted like blood. Then the video surfaced. Someone had filmed it. From across the street. Grainy but clear. Her fist. His face. The sound. A caption burned its way across social media. Seattle cop assaults black man in suit, turns out he's the new chief. 200,000 views by lunch. 2 million by dinner. Karen read the comments. Imagine what she does when there's no camera. She still got a job? Fire. Her. Now. Inside the precinct, she became a pariah. Her chair was isolated. Her inbox flooded with busy work. Even Torres started avoiding her gaze. She tried to convince herself it was a misunderstanding, that Hale wouldn't make a public statement. But his silence was worse than any headline. Then came an internal memo. Officer Harlan pending investigation for excessive force and racially biased behavior. Her union rep called her. Nervous. They're digging Melissa. Civil rights groups. City Hall, this thing's growing legs. Soon, every file from her last 5 years was pulled. Every complaint, especially the ones buried under non-actionable labels, resurfaced. One in particular, Marcus Doyle, 16, slammed into a wall for loitering. She didn't even remember his name, but Internal Affairs did. Her partner from years past, Dean Wallace, testified against her. The same man she'd pulled from bar fights and covered for when he lost his body cam. He sat on the evening news in a clean shirt and said, "This isn't about one incident. It's about a pattern." And the pattern was her. She was suspended without pay. Her locker defaced. Racist pig in red spray paint. She packed her things in silence. Her daughter didn't answer her calls. The only message she got was, "I told my friends you don't work there anymore." The story should have ended there. But it didn't. Then the fire happened. A community center in South Seattle went up in flames. Someone had footage, a still shot of a woman in a hoodie walking nearby. It looked like her. Wasn't her. But it didn't matter. The internet made its decision. The media followed. Chief Hale said nothing publicly. But she knew. She knew the fire, the leak, the paint on her locker. It wasn't coincidence. This was a hit job. She called her lawyer, a man named Malcolm Kessler. "I want to expose him," she said. Kessler hesitated. "You sure? This road doesn't go back." "I'm already gone," she replied. "I just want to take him with me." What they found changed everything. 10 years earlier, Oakland. A quiet investigation into Desmond Hale's involvement in a bribery ring tied to a now-dissolved drug unit. Never charged. Never punished. Swept clean. Until now. She handed the documents to an independent journalist named Louisa Marin. "Make it public," she said. And Louisa did. Within 24 hours. Seattle chief tied to Oakland corruption. Protests erupted again. But this time not for her. For him. Mayor's office released a statement. Chief Desmond Hale placed on administrative leave. Karen laughed for the first time in months. Then came a knock. Blocked number. Desmond's voice, low and sharp. "You think this is over?" He told her to check her apartment. She found it ransacked. Her files gone. A note on the kitchen table. "Next time you burn." Days later, Louisa was found dead. Car explosion. Mechanical malfunction, they said. But Karen knew better. She drove to Hale's office. Walked in unannounced. "About a camera," she said, holding up her phone. "Everything you say is going live." He smirked. "You think that scares me?" "Confess." And he did. "I set you up," he said. The fire. The files. The paint. All of it. The stream caught every word. Before it cut off in chaos, SWAT bursting in, her gun raised, her shoulder bleeding. She'd already won. By morning, the video had 3 million views. Karen woke up in the hospital, handcuffed to a bed, charged with assault, kidnapping, endangerment. She didn't care. Desmond Hale had resigned. Her confession sealed his fate. Public opinion turned. By the time she stood in court, she wasn't the villain. She wasn't the hero either. Just a woman who had lost everything to tell the truth. The judge gave her 5 years probation. No prison. No badge. No pension. She left through side door. Alone. Months passed. She worked security at a fish warehouse. Night shift. No questions. She lived quiet. Low. Sometimes she sat by the docks and watched the stars. She still hadn't seen her daughter, still hadn't said the words. But then one day a message came. A photo. A new mural on the precinct wall. In the corner, her silhouette. No name, just a figure watching. Someone remembered. One night, she sat at a community safety meeting in a church basement. Unrecognized, uninvited. A woman stood up and said, "We don't hate police. We just want the ones who tell the truth even when it hurts." Karen didn't speak, but she nodded, because that was the line. That was the truth. And truth was what finally set her free.